everyone, my name is Lumi, and welcome to Lumi's Lair. In this video it's not Overwatch review this time, it's a Valorant Champions Tournament review. And I only watched the Americas League this year because I was much more invested in the Overwatch League. So yeah, this is going to be my review on the Americas League. Now, I'm just going to do this in order of what they got in the regular season from worst to best. Obviously, the standings have been shaken up a bit, but yeah. I'll give you one good spot and one bad spot on each team. So, first off, we have Crew. Crew was interesting because they went 0-9 through the season, but they took maps. And who did they take maps from? Cloud9 and Loud, the top two teams in the region. So, yeah. What I would give you is Davies did look good at the very end when he came back and started popping off again. And Nags is pretty good, Melzer. The team is good, and if everyone's playing at their peak, they could upset a few teams. Now, the next team, MIBR. Now, this team's interesting, honestly. I don't know well, obviously what's not good about this team is their inconsistency. Jesus. They get 2-0'd by Leviathan and then beat NRG. It's insane to me. MIBR are very inconsistent. But JZZ and Maurice are very good players, and RGL Meister too. It's a great team all around, but also just it's rough. They could have won more, but they didn't, and it's just rough. But not a bad team. It's like a dark horse. 100 Thieves. 100 Thieves are interesting because you can't call them that great, because they beat EG, but it was very early. Then they beat Crew and Leviathan, and then they beat Furia, but then they lost to MIBR. 100 Thieves is interesting. These guys aren't very consistent. Cryocells is very good, though. I love watching Cryo. Cryo's great. And Asuna is kind of very inconsistent again, but when they peak, they are extremely good. Oh my god. Stellar, Derek, Bang, they're all great players, and if they just, honestly, I think the downside is their coaching staff, because their, full talent is not being expressed, and it is very sad. Now, my favorite team, Sentinels. Well, what do we have to say about Sentinels? Let's get the bad out of the way, okay? The bad, there were many roster changes, and their best player had many things going on, just to say the least. But they didn't look horrible at the very end. The bad side, their rotation was very inconsistent, and it looked horrible for the mid-season. Because their first match, they beat 100 Thieves, then they lose to NRG, Leviathan, Loud, beat MIBR, lose to Cloud9 EG, and then beat Crew and Furia. So they went 4-5, like 100 Thieves. But Sentinels just need to win one more game, and they should have beaten Leviathan. But the issue with Sentinels is I don't know who's running the rotation scheme. It sucks. Oh my god. It sucked for so long. They took out TenZ, which was warranted at the time, but also he's TenZ. He's a bit inconsistent. And then they switched in Marved, and Marved played out of his mind and like carried them a lot, and then Tens came back in and also played out of his mind. And Zekken's great. Their current roster of Marved, Pancata, Tens, Zekken, and Saucy are so good. I honestly think they could be upset like many top teams. Like, I bet they could beat Cloud9 after their loss to EG, and I bet they could beat NRG after their loss to EG. Sentinels are looking good coming into LCQ. I'm just gonna say that. Next, we have EG. EG's so interesting, man. I don't know what to say. They barely squeaked in. They started off losing to Cloud9, which was not a good look because Cloud9 was in chaos back then. Then they lost to 100 Thieves, which isn't a good look either. Then they beat Crew, but close. Like, very close. And then they lost to Furia and Loud, and then they just beat Leviathan, Sentinels, MIBR, lost to NRG. Then came back and beat NRG in playoffs, and then beat Cloud9. So they're looking very good. Their upside is obviously, I don't even know what to say their upside is. Demon 1 is weird. Demon 1 is a weird thing for me, okay? Because everyone starts popping off like, oh my god, Demon 1's the best player in the world. He's close, okay? I say he's... Okay, not including teams, not including outside circumstances, he's like third, second or third, or I don't know. I'm gonna put him at fourth because I personally believe, in my opinion, that I prefer Tenz's style of play as a duelist because he uses his abilities for his team and also makes very good entry. Marved for playing a smokes role and an IGL at the same time and playing consistently when they needed him. And Crashies because his IGLing is genius. That's what I would say. But yeah, Demon 1, BCJ, Calm, Boostio, they're all great players, and I love to see them all playing together and playing very well. Their downside, though, is they're a bit inconsistent. Demon 1 especially, but he has bald buff now, so it doesn't really matter. Furia. First off, let's just get the good stuff out of the way. DG Zen is so good. Musera's, he's pretty good too. They are insane players, and yeah, it's very nice to see them playing again. But they shouldn't have made this tournament. I'm sorry. Sentinel should have made it in, genuinely. Because they lost to 100 Thieves and Sentinels, who both didn't make it in. And they lost to Energy and Cloud9 and Loud. But just because they beat Leviathan, they made it in. And they beat EG, I guess. But their playoffs run's looking a bit shaky because they beat Leviathan, like, very convincingly, except for Pearl, which it was an insane game. It's also in Pearl. And then they got crushed by Loud, so they're in losers right now. 4 more teams. Leviathan, another team which I don't think should have made it in. Because Leviathan played a great first 4 games. They beat NRG, they kept it close with Furia, they beat Sentinels and MIBR. And I'm like, dang, these guys are good. They're playing so well. And then 100 Thieves loss, EG loss, Crew win, which is not a surprise. And then Cloud9 loss, Loud loss. And I just don't think they should win. But they have great players like Takalila and King. NZR is great too, but King is so good. I love watching him play. Like, dude, just his Viper. It's so good. But yeah, we got now the top 3 teams. Energy, which has the Optic Core, Crashy's Victor, RD, Som, and FNS. And Ethos is in there, but he does not play at all. They obviously had a great season because they lose to Leviathan, which is rough, and then they beat Sentinels, and they lose to MIBR, which is rough, then they lose to Cloud9, and then they go Crew, 100 Thieves, Furia, Loud, and EG, and that was great. Then they lose to EG in playoffs. So they're at the bottom, but they play really great together. They've obviously had like synergy from playing together for a long time. But honestly, it's just like sad. Because I don't know. People say they're like, "Oh my god, it's one of the best cores ever." It's alright. They did carry. I don't want to get into semantics here, but like, they're obviously very good and they're all playing together very well. A weak spot, I would say, is Ardis' play because he's kind of inconsistent. Because he plays like good Jet, but that's all he can play. He does not play good Raze. And sometimes, like, Victor has to off-roll to Raze. It's a mess. It's a mess. But that's like the only thing that I will nitpick. Then we have Cloud9. Whew, there's so many good things to say about this team. So, what I would say is bad is the beginning of the season did not look good for Cloud9. Because they were all over the place. They were dropping Vanity, dropped Yay. It was just not looking good. But then they beat EG, which is nice. Then they lose to Loud, which is not nice. And then they win every other match. So yeah, Cloud9 is on a roll. They're playing very well. Zelsis, Zeppa. But the real players that I've noticed are Leaf, Jake, and Rooney. 2 rookies coming in from contenders, and they just crush. Oh my god. Like, Jesus. Jake has a great omen. Just, he doesn't have, like, the best frags, but, boy, like, he clutches. And Rooney having, like, decent breach. These guys are consistent, but they're not, like, fragging out. But they are very good players, and I love to watch their career. Last is Loud. Loud, obviously, won last year. But then they lost Saucy and Pancata, and they replaced them with, I'm pretty sure it was 2U's and I don't know how to pronounce it. Kawanzin? I think. Don't attack me, please. And they played obviously very well. Their leading player is obviously Aspas. He is. Here's what I'll say, okay? Aspas is good, but he has 0 flexibility. If we like look into Aspas as like a player, he has in the past 60 days only used Jet. That's it. He is not off-rolled any. So yeah, if I have to nitpick, they're not the most flexible, and they've kind of got like screwed over against NRG. But yeah, they've played very well. They're a great team. All that, yada yada yada. They're loud. You just trust them to win games. But now let's just check in playoffs. So Energy loses to EG, which is an upset, and Furia beats Leviathan, which is an upset technically, but we all expected it because Leviathan has been down recently. Then Cloud9 get 2-0'd by EG, which is scary. And Loud beat Furia, no one's surprised. And now it's Loud versus EG. That's gonna be an interesting match. When's that? In like 2 days. So yeah. Players I would watch out for on just like every team. For crew, just watch Davies, honestly, because he's been playing very well. Also Klaus. Klaus is, those two players, just watch out for them. If they get traded, that's going to be insane. JZZ and RGL Meister for MIBR, they've been playing insanely well. I love JZZ's Sky. They play very well together. 100 Thieves is rough. Honestly, watch Bang. Because Bang is just such a good smokes player. And I would trust him more than pretty much everyone else. That's what I'll say. I'll trust him. And then for Sentinels, honestly, this one's rough for me, okay? I don't know. Okay. There's 3 players, but I can't put... Watch Marv. He's great. Marv is great. He is an IGL. He plays smokes. He plays very consistent. I love watching him play. And then Tens. I heckin' love Tens. He is so good at everything. And I just... Tens is great. And just watch Tens. He'll pop. When he pops, he pops. He did have a bunch of stuff after him at one point, but he came back very well. And he's hyper flexible. He can play Raze, Neon, except Zekken usually plays those, but he can play Sage. He's very flexible. And yeah, watch Zekken. Zekken's great. He's, for a rookie, Jesus, he's insane. Okay, EG time. There's so many players on this team. Watch Calm and Demon 1. Demon 1's inconsistent, which sucks. But also, Demon 1's like really good, and soon he will like learn consistency, hopefully. And Calm's just overall solid, all that. For Furia is an interesting one because they've been on a downward spiral. Mazine's very good, and DGZin's also very good. Those 2 players are just like really popping right now. Just watch out for this team. They may make a comeback. Leviathan, King, also Shy. I forgot to put in Shy, but Shy's very good. He just gets out like Klaus by the rest of his team because like we have Taco Ila, we have NZR, King, Mazzino. This team's so good, but they have not found consistency lately, and that's what's really screwing them over. NRG, I mean, just watch NRG. The Optic Core is obviously great playing together, and yeah. C9, watch the rookies, honestly. Watch Jake and Rooney. They have been popping. I love watching them play. And then Loud. Honestly, Aspas and Sadak. And Les. Those 3 is a great core, and they build around each other very well. Now, I'm gonna have to give this hot take eventually because I've said it many times. Okay. Ye isn't the greatest player. People were all hype when Ye went over to DSG. And they're like, oh, he's gonna carry DSG. But like, God, this guy's not the greatest anymore. He's not flexible. He played in the past 60 days, which is all the time he's been signed on DSG. He has played almost all Jet, which he played very well on, but he did not play team around his team at all. And they lost 5 games in a row. But he hyperflexed on the Sage once, and he went 7-17-8. So yeah, I would not call Ye the greatest player anymore. Yes, his old days were great. He was a great opper. I loved. He was a great player overall. But he is in his most recent game against TSM, right? He went 15-31-8 in challengers. What do you want me to say? Ye isn't the greatest. Okay, Ye isn't the greatest player. I'm just gonna say it. He isn't. He's not flexible. He could play Chamber and Jet, and Chamber's out of meta, so he can just play Jet. And he plays Jet very well, but not well enough. There's no reason to have him because the only reason to have him around is only if he was playing like tens in Reykjavik days, and he isn't. So yeah, that's it. I mean, the VCT has been very fun to watch and very well produced, but I don't know. It was very fun to watch, and the tournament isn't getting the greatest viewing because their top 2 teams didn't make it. But yeah, I'll see you all in the next one. Goodbye.